Wow, it's really fantastic to be back here this year, and I'm really excited to share with you everything about Grevy zebra and the news from Kenya. Grevy zebra is a beautiful and highly endangered species. There are only 2,500 left on Earth. Less than 1% of their range is formally protected. You'll be sad to hear that the reason for their decline initially was as a result of the skin trade. So they were overhunted for their beautiful skins. Thankfully, this is no longer a threat. However, today they face large-scale habitat loss, restricted access to water during the dry season, and poaching. If we don't address these threats, Grevy zebra numbers cannot increase, and this poses a serious threat to their future survival. We are working with communities to restore their habitat, provide them with water during the dry season, protect them from poaching, and monitor their status throughout the year so that if anything happens, we can react quickly. And this is helping to secure their future. Today, we ask you to please consider supporting our efforts. By doing so, not only will you be saving one of Africa's most endangered large mammals, but you'll be saving many other different species facing the same threats. For those of you who have not had the privilege of seeing a Grevy zebra, I wanted to show you the difference between them and plain zebra, which is more common, and probably many of you have seen this if you've been to Africa. So you can see that the Grevy zebra has these beautiful fine stripes, these beautiful gleaming white bellies, a brown muzzle, they're much taller, and they have these amazing ears. And a friend of ours recently described those ears as like flowers in bloom, and I thought, what a beautiful analogy that is, because it's one of their most distinctive features. Grevy zebra are found in the Horn of Africa, in Kenya and Ethiopia. And they live in these arid environments, so they're adapted to survive, and they can go up to 5 days without water. The males are territorial, and so they establish territories that contain the grazing and water resources that females need. And so females come through these territories, and that's the opportunity for the male to mate with the female. And then males that are not territorial are called bachelor males, which is a very apt name because they cause all sorts of trouble. Every Grevy zebra has a unique stripe pattern, just like we have unique fingerprints. And this year, in January, we did a nationwide census of Grevy zebra. This was a massive collaboration. It involved the general public, it involved scientists, it involved the county government, it involved community conservancies and communities. And all of us were out there with cameras taking photographs of Grevy zebra over 2 days. And we got excellent results from this. The data, we generated over 40,000 images of Grevy zebra. And the result was that we have 2,350 Grevy zebra in Kenya, which is actually the most accurate estimate that we've ever been able to come up with. So in Ethiopia, there are less than 250 there. And so we're estimating that the global population is around 2,500. What was really amazing about this census was that we were able to look at the age structure of the population. And often the age structure actually tells us more about how healthy a population is than the actual numbers. And we found that there is a 30% proportion of foals and juveniles in the population. And so this is a very healthy age structure. So these populations that we were monitoring, they are sustaining. But we need to go from sustaining to increasing. And now it's my great privilege to introduce Peter Lampert. He's worked for the Trust for almost 10 years, and he has dedicated his life to Grevy zebra conservation. And in 2012, he won the Disney Conservation Hero Award, which he really deserved. Peter's going to tell you more about the threats that Grevy zebra are facing, and then I will come back a bit later.
Thank you so much, Belinda, for that beautiful introduction on the species. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here and connect with old friends, but also make new friends. It's always that time of the year when, like a kid, you look forward to having a Christmas party. So coming here is like coming for a Christmas party for me. I had the initial, opportunity as a young pastoral kid growing up in northern Kenya. I had the initial interaction with wildlife, including the Grevies. And just like the kid you see in this picture, Grevies and other wildlife play a very critical role in our pastoral system. They teach us a lot of things. It's through this wildlife that you learn what your environment offers. Through this wildlife that you learn where are the resources. I remember when I was a young kid, for me to trace where there's water, I have to really find the tracks of the Grevies. And the tracks will lead me to the water point. The tracks will lead me to where there's pasture. That's how connected we are with the Grevies. That's how connected we are with wildlife. And generally, if you look at the landscape, a lot has happened. And because of that, I said I will dedicate my time, my effort, to saving my colleagues, and those are the wildlife. Because of that interaction, they used to give me their company as I go out hunting. Having seen the change over time, I've seen that, grasses have disappeared. Grasses that the very same Grevies depend on. Grasses that my livestock, my cows, my sheep, my goat, the grasses that they depend on have also disappeared. So the same problem, the same threat that's affecting the Grevies is what's affecting my community. It's what's affecting my culture. I feel so sad when I look at the landscape. I'm a young man, but beside my age, I've seen a lot of changes in my landscape. And this is the same threat that the Grevies are facing. No more grass. So you can imagine, you run for your favorite food, and it's no longer there. Lose your body weight, diseases knocks in, and we end up losing a number of Grevies because of habitat loss. But beside losing the grass, something else is happening. Grevies are not having enough water to drink. Access to water is a big challenge. And access getting this water is linked still to the loss of the vegetation, to the loss of the grass. Without the vegetation, the moment it rains in the landscape, all the water is generated as runoff. It doesn't help anybody. So we are losing water. And so Grevies come looking for water. There's no water. And I know for some of us, when we wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is to turn on your tap. In Africa, and in most places in Africa, especially in northern Kenya, people do not have that luxury to turn the tap. Leave alone about the people. What about the Grevies? They hardly get access to water. And the situation even gets worse during the drought period, during the dry season. Grevies come during the day, they don't find water. They stay back, waiting for livestock to walk out of the water point. But because of the water table going down, because of little water, livestock have to spend their time during the day and at night in the same water point. So imagine waiting for 24 hours without you getting a glass of water to drink. The amount of dust that you'll have. That's the second biggest threat that the Grévys face. No water. Nursing mothers who have young foals need water every day for them to be able to produce milk. Now imagine there's no milk from your mother. The young foals run to the mother hoping to suckle and get some milk. There's no milk because there's no water. So we end up losing the young generation, the young foals, which is what should replenish the old population. And so, one thing gets connected to another. Still, in the same landscape, because of lack of pasture, because of lack of water, pastoral communities are fighting over natural resources. And because of that fight, people have to arm themselves. The ethnic groups are fighting. So I have to buy a gun. And the moment I buy a gun, I have to learn how to shoot. Guess what happens? Who is my first target to learn how to shoot? I'll start with old trees. I'll start with some dried wood. And then I end up seeing something that's running. Something that's alive. Grévys are being shot as target practice. Grévys are being poached easily by those communities that use them as a delicacy because of owning guns. Historically, somebody could run, try to hunt a Grévy, but you cannot hunt because you are using a spear. Now you have an automatic rifle. It becomes easier. It's one of the threats that the Grévys face in one of these areas, where some communities use the Grévys as a delicacy, and they have armed themselves. But what are we doing to address these threats? We work with local communities. We work with elders. We work with women. We work with the youth. We work with the children to make sure that these threats are addressed. And in order to take you through that, I'm going to call back my colleague Belinda to take you through the programs that we run as Grevy Zebra Trust, trying to address these challenges. So welcome, Belinda. Thank you.
Our flagship program is our Grevy Zebra Scout program, and this focuses primarily on women. Women are mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts. They are very effective in engaging with families, talking about wildlife, talking about the threats, and talking about what can be done as a family to help wildlife. These women also collect data on Grevy zebra, and their data has been published in a quite respected scientific journal, and it's giving us long-term trends of Grevy zebra populations in their area. They also raise awareness in the community, so aside from their role as a family member, they also have glove puppets, which they use to basically communicate the threats to their fellow community members, and then to spark a discussion about what can be done. This beautiful woman is Ririan, and I think one of the most exciting aspects of this project is that it empowers women in the community. Their status goes up. They are respected by elders, but even more importantly, by warriors, who even invite them to their own meetings to speak. And Ririan recently found some livestock that were illegally grazing in an area that had been set aside. And she reported it to the elders. And the elders said, yes, come, sit down, tell us what happened. And so she said, well, I think there are people grazing there, And so the elders responded, and they went out and moved these people out of the area. And she said she felt so empowered that they listened to her. Not only that, but they also get leverage from their salary to invest in other economic opportunities. So over half the scouts are making 57% more on their salaries from having invested it in other sources of income. One of the major issues that women face in Samburu is lack of a hygienic option when they have their monthly cycle. And so we have started a reusable sanitary pad program where the women are actually making these pads in their communities, and they're able to sell these pads. And so it's an economic opportunity, but it's also keeping girls in school, because girls have to drop out of school when they don't have any protection during their monthly cycle. And so this is a real win-win program. And we're really excited to start supplying schools now in Samburu with these pads. You heard from Peter about the extent of overgrazing in the landscape. And we're working with communities to address overgrazing. And by doing this, we're basically planning for recovery time. What happens when overgrazing occurs is that an animal keeps grazing the plant until it is no longer there. But with recovery time, the animal comes, grazes the plant, and then goes away, and that plant has time to go to seed and regenerate. And that's one of the most important principles that we're trying to implement in partnership with the community, and it's working really well in the area where we've piloted it. When we get rainfall, we are losing about 80% of it to runoff and evaporation. Rain cannot get into the hard capped soil, which has resulted from overgrazing. And so we have to break up that soil if we want to catch rainfall. So even in a normal rainfall year, people will say, my goodness, there's a drought. But actually there hasn't been a drought. It's just that we haven't caught any of that water. The most effective way for us to break up that soil is actually using animals and using their hooves. And we've been able to apply this treatment to many degraded areas with fantastic results. So we can do it by herding the cattle in a bunched way, but we can also do it by having the animals sleep in an enclosure for 1 week. And you get very high nutrients going into the soil in that way, because there's dung and urine, and they're breaking the soil up as well. This is an area that has recovered using this approach. This is Sheila, our research manager, kneeling in a beautiful sea of grass. And we're now working with the Northern Rangelands Trust, which is a partner organization, to scale this up. We need to go big with this approach. We need to change the trend. And so we're looking at restoring 1 million acres, which is about 5 times the size of San Diego. That was the analogy I found online. One of the things that we found when doing this habitat restoration work is that the elders are making decisions about grazing, but the people herding, who are often the kids, have no idea, what's been going into these decisions. There's a kind of a disconnect, so they get told where to take their livestock, but actually they don't know why they're doing that. And so we had our first ever conservation field school in August this year. And it was fantastic, because these kids, they just only saw opportunities. We were teaching them about the habitat restoration approaches we're using. So that's applying recovery time and animal impact, having the hooves break up the soil, and how that can really benefit the water cycle. And they just saw opportunities. Often when we teach elders and work with elders, they just see challenges. So it was really refreshing. And what we did was we then brought the kids and the elders together as a team. And the kids have called themselves the Grass Guardians. So they have now formed a club, and they are going to continue this work, and they're going to push those elders to make change. Thanks. In the areas where Grevy zebra are being poached, we have an amazing anti-poaching team. These are 16 Grevy zebra ambassadors who put their lives on the line to protect Grevy zebra and other wildlife. They come from two different ethnic groups, the Samburu and the Turkana, who historically have had ethnic tension between them. They fight over resources, as Peter was explaining. So this team has also been taught to mediate with other people, whether it's over people issues or whether it's over wildlife issues. And recently, they actually were able to stop 5 lions from being killed in a community. One of my favorite applications, though, of this tool, mediation tool, is that they are now marriage counselors in their communities. And they often get called upon to resolve these disputes between husbands and wives. We never saw that as a spin-off of this. So on your right is a picture of a person from Turkana, and on your left is a picture of a person from Samburu. So we wanted really to bring these two groups together, because without peace, conservation can't be effective. And so we need stability in that region where the ambassadors are working. And so we formed a big team of elders and warriors, and they're called the Conservation Council. And they have their logo. So I don't know if you can see, but we have a mix of cultures in the Grevy zebra logo. We've got the Turkana feather at the front here, and then the Samburu chicken feathers along the mane. And this is just showing how Grevy zebra is a symbol of peace. It brings people together in peace and for conservation. This is the council. And I'm really excited to announce that in 2017, we're going to be having a We Are One Peace Festival, which will focus all about peace and conservation, and Grevy zebra will be the central species unifying everybody. As a result of the work of the ambassadors and the Conservation Council, poaching in Alberta has gone down by about 87%. So in 2013, we had 31 animals killed, wild animals. And that's gone now down to 4 last year, and we're about the same level this year as I speak. In this photo, you can see these black rocks, and then you can see a line of Grevy zebra walking behind. Those rocks are volcanic lava. And they've sort of erupted and spread out into these amazing plateaus. But this area is incredibly dry, and this is an area where access to water is a real problem for Grevy zebra during the dry season. We're working with communities to establish wildlife-dedicated water points. These are really effective, and we're not actually making creating a new water point in a landscape, because that would be very dangerous. You can compromise grazing and open it up to people settling nearby. We're actually using existing water that communities are already using, and then providing an extension away from where the communities are to give wildlife space to drink. And the communities are protecting that water. And that's the Waterhole, and so this is a picture of some Grevies who've recently came to drink from it, and they really quite quickly found it. We were a bit concerned about, are they going to find it? And of course, they did straight away. So this is a model that we're trying to expand, and we're going to do a water survey in 2017 just to see where we can increase the access for Grevy zebra and other wildlife so that they can survive throughout the dry season. This area where the volcanic rock is and where water is an issue, Grevy zebra are pretty widely dispersed across it. And so we need to have eyes and ears on the ground. And for that, we're engaging the Rendili and Samburu warriors in this region, because they can walk far and they can tell us news quickly. And so they really monitor the status of this population, and they tell us if there's any intervention that's needed. We recently acquired some new team members, and we now have 4 camels. And the reason we've got camels is because for the warriors to be able to monitor the Grévy zebra in the dry season, they have to go out into these lava plateaus, and you can only get there on foot. So they're able to go out for like 2 weeks at a time, take all their supplies, and just completely immerse themselves in that landscape and be able to monitor what's going on with Grévy zebra and other wildlife there. And to document all of this, they have cameras. And so what we've had is an amazing insight, not only into what they're seeing out there and the different species that they're seeing, but also their lives as they patrol. And so I now want to show you a short video. This is a collaboration with a professional photographer called Mia Collis. And we created a collaboration called Zebra People. And it showcases not only Mia's photographs of our warriors, but also the warriors' photographs. As you can see, our grassroots team is totally committed to saving Grévy zebra. Thanks to their efforts and that of our partners, Grévy zebra numbers have stabilized and are sustaining. But it's critical that we go from sustaining to increasing. We are really grateful to those institutions and individuals that are supporting us to make this happen. Thank you.